Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 3 is honestly one of the biggest gameplay changes we've had in a long time. At first I thought it was another season with a few new weapons and a different map, but after playing for a couple days I realized I was completely wrong. So whether you're jumping into your very first game or you've already been playing and feel completely lost, I'm going to explain everything you actually need to know and hopefully save you from making the same mistakes that I did. One of the biggest mistakes people are making this season is thinking it's just another season update. On the surface it looks familiar. You still drop in from the battle bus, go loot your weapons, rotate into zone and try to be the last person standing. But underneath all that, almost every major system has changed. The first thing you'll notice is a completely redesigned island. Instead of simply replacing a few points of interest, Epic built the season around exploration and progression. There are a few new landmarks, new traversal routes, and vertical areas that completely change how fights play out. So that means even if you don't win the game, you still make meaningful progress. Suddenly, surviving becomes just as important as eliminating other players. It's a completely different way to think about Fortnite and honestly makes every match feel like it matters. Now let's talk about a feature that basically defines the entire season, and that will be the all-new Sprites. When I first started playing, I ignored almost every Sprite because I didn't think they were that useful starting out, and that was a huge mistake. Sprites are essentially passive abilities that follow you throughout the match and completely change how you approach fights. Every Sprite has its own unique effect, and depending on your playstyle, one Sprite might be significantly stronger than another. Let's start with the Fire Sprite. If you're an aggressive player that likes pushing every fight, this is probably going to be your favorite. As you deal damage and eliminate enemies, the Fire Sprite rewards the aggression with explosive effects that can finish weakened opponents or pressure entire teams. Instead of backing off after cracking someone's shields, you actually are rewarded for continuing to push. It's basically designed for players who love high elimination games. The Water Sprite is almost the exact opposite. Rather than increasing your damage output, it focuses on survivability. Whenever you're near water, your shields slowly regenerate, allowing you to recover without burning through your valuable healing items. In squads especially, this can completely change the pace of a fight because your team can reset much faster than your opponents, who are forced to use shields every engagement. The next Sprite is the Ghost Sprite. It's one of my favorites. Every time you reload, you briefly become cloaked. That sounds simple, but in actual gameplay, it's incredibly useful. Imagine winning a fight with 10 health left, you reload your shotgun, disappear just long enough to reposition, and then suddenly the third party that was chasing you has absolutely no idea where you are. It's one of those abilities that don't seem overpowered until you actually start using it. Next up we have the Demon Sprite. If you're the type of player who constantly is W-keying everyone in the lobby, the Demon Sprite is built just for you. That means instead of having to stop and heal after every fight, you can chain eliminations together while staying healthy. The better you play, the stronger this Sprite becomes. Next up we have the Duck Sprite. It's probably one of the funniest additions to the season. Instead of activating it through combat, you can literally emote or play a jam track to restore your shields. It sounds ridiculous, but if you've ever found yourself hiding behind cover with no shields left, dancing your way back to full health, it's actually pretty useful. Next we have the Dream Sprite, which is basically a Fortnite gambling. Every level grants random items and rewards with the possibility of earning extremely valuable loot. Sometimes you'll get something average, but the other times you may get exactly what your loadout needed. If you enjoy unpredictable gameplay, this is one that is incredibly fun. Next up, we have the Earth Sprite, which is one of the most common sprites players are going to run into first. At first glance, it might not seem nearly as exciting as any of the other sprites that gives you combat abilities, but don't underestimate it. The Earth Sprite is all about consistency and loot. Instead of giving you flashy eliminations and movement bonuses, it helps you gear up faster and increases your chances of finding better equipment throughout the match. And now we have one of the rarest sprites, the 0 Point Sprite. Zero build players especially should pay attention to this one. Every time you heal, the 0 Point Sprite creates a small protective shield bubble, and the extra layer of cover can completely save you during endgames where there isn't enough natural cover available. It's one of the most underrated defensive abilities of the entire season. Another important thing for this season is the extractions. Finding a Sprite isn't just enough. You actually want to extract it. Throughout the map, you'll find an extraction points where you activate a timer and defend yourself while your Sprite escapes. Successfully extracting earned Sprite dust levels up your collection, unlocks permanent progression, and slowly makes your overall count stronger. That's why I said earlier that every match matters. Even if you finish 15th place, you can still leave with meaningful progress instead of feeling like the game was wasted. Alright, let's talk about some weapons that are new to this season. First up, we have the Surgical Burst Rifle. This is quietly becoming one of the best ARs in Chapter 7 Season 3. At first glance, it looks like just another burst AR, but after a few games, I realized how incredibly consistent it feels. The recoil's almost non-existent, which means you're spending less time fighting the weapon and more time actually tracking your target. Instead of spraying 50 bullets and hoping something connects, every burst feels deliberate. Land 2 or 3 clean bursts and you'll crack shields before your opponent even realizes what's happening. And if you're someone who struggles with recoil control, this is probably the easiest AR in the current loot pool to pick up and immediately start getting value from. Next up, we have the Extending Focus Shotgun, and I think this is the weapon that most people are going to misunderstand. Fortnite has trained us over the years to panic fire shotguns as fast as possible. This one actually rewards you for slowing down. The longer you allow the spread to tighten, the more accurate and devastating your shot becomes. It almost feels like a risk versus reward mechanic. So you could spam your shots, or you could wait just a fraction of a second and hit for significantly more damage. Once I stopped treating it like every other shotgun and started being patient, I immediately noticed myself winning a lot more close range fights. Up next, we have the Lance Head Pistol. On paper, it looks like a pretty standard pistol, but the reload mechanic completely changes how you use it. Every time you reload, the magazine actually becomes a projectile that deals damage to anyone unlucky enough to be standing right in front of you. And yes, you can actually eliminate someone with it. I honestly laughed the first time it happened, but imagine you're chasing someone around a corner and you're completely out of ammo and they think they're safe. And then your magazine flies through the air and finishes the elimination. It's one of those little mechanics that makes the weapon feel unique instead of just another pistol in the loot pool. But even if it's not the strongest weapon statistically, it's one of the most entertaining additions this season. So after playing a bunch of matches, I found myself running almost the exact same loadout every game. You have the Surgical Burst Rifle, the Extending Shotgun, mobility, healing, and then you got your utilities like your bunks and stuff like that. And honestly, I think it's one of the biggest lessons of Chapter 7 Season 3. The strongest loadout isn't necessarily the one with the highest rarity, it's the one that fits your playstyle. Another important thing this season, and one of the strongest mechanics, is movement. The all-new 7 sliders boots let you reposition faster than almost every other mobility item in the game. Good players aren't necessarily winning because they have better aim, they're winning because they're constantly taking better angles, rotating earlier, and forcing their opponents into bad positions. One of the biggest mistakes I see players making this season is waiting until the storm is already moving before they rotate. Instead, start moving early, take the high ground before the other team gets there, and find the next safe position before everyone else is forced into it. The best rotation is the one where you never have to fight in the first place. I've also noticed that this season rewards positioning way more than raw mechanics. You don't have to hit every shot if you're already standing in the better position. Taking height, using your natural cover, and forcing opponents to run through open areas is going to win you far more fights than simply having better aim. One thing that I've been trying to do every game is looking for a different angle than what people are expecting. If one enemy is watching one direction, I'll use mobility to get around the side and take the high ground to force them to completely readjust. Suddenly they're reacting to me instead of putting pressure on me. One of the big things that's happened in the season is third parties, and that can be partly to how good the movement is. If you hear gunshots, instead of running straight into the fight, use your mobility to take a better position first. Let the other teams weaken each other, and then that's your chance to pounce on them. A lot of my easiest eliminations this season have come simply arriving at the right place at the right time. And this becomes a very important strategy to use, especially at the end game, the final few zones, where they're decided by who rotates first, who claimed the height, who saved their mobility, and who forced everyone else into bad position. I've won fights with less health and worse weapons simply because I've already know where I was supposed to be. So if there's one piece of advice I could give you for Chapter 7 Season 3 is this. Stop thinking of movement as just a way to get around the map. Think of it as another weapon. Every good rotation saves health, gives you better angles to increase your damage, and gives you a way to reposition for another chance to win the fight. And once you have that mindset clicked, once you start understanding that, you'll survive longer, make more end games, and start picking up a lot more victory royales. So, after playing dozens of matches, I don't think Chapter 7 Season 3 is about finding the strongest weapon or memorizing every new location. It's about adapting, learning the sprite system, using movement intelligently, extract whenever you can. Build your loadout around your playstyle instead of chasing rarity, and understand that every single match contributes to the long-term progression. That's what makes this season feel so different from every Fortnite season we had before. So if you've learned something new, let me know which sprite you're using most in the comments, and if you discovered a strategy that I didn't mention. Share it below with the rest of the comments so we can try it too. And if you're looking for more Chapter 7 Season 3 guides, challenges, and gameplay, make sure to subscribe because we're going to be covering the season all the way through. We'll see you guys in the next one.